interesting. Have you been watching the Olympics to see these young people that have grown up practicing their skill and their craft until it's just perfected? I saw the U.S. men's hockey team this morning, I guess, winning their first gold in 46 years or something like that. And one of the commentators said the mother was in the stands and she had 2 boys on the team. And he says, that gold medal isn't too much of a price to pay for a couple of front teeth. So we bless all the athletes and all of those people that are following their dreams in such beauty and splendor. So let's affirm for all the children of the world together, child of light, we love you and bless you. We see the Spirit of God within you, guiding, protecting, and prospering you always, always, always. All right. So this morning I have a little humor for us, but it's kind of a long one, so try to stay with me if you can. I have it here somewhere. It's a cute one. How many of you are cat people? How many of you are dog people? Oh, how many of you are both? Yeah, I grew up with both cats and dogs. Well, this says, a newly discovered chapter in the book of Genesis has provided the answer to where do pets come from. Adam said, Lord, when I was in the garden, you walked with me every day. Now I don't see you anymore. I'm lonesome here, and it's difficult for me to remember how much you love me. And God said, no problem. I will create a companion for you that will be with you forever and who will be a reflection of my love for you so that you will love me even when you cannot see me. Regardless of how selfish, childish, or unlovable you may be, this new companion will accept you as you are and will love you as I do in spite of yourself. And God created a new animal to be a companion for Adam. And it was a good animal, and God was pleased. And the new animal was pleased to be with Adam, and he wagged his tail. And Adam said, Lord, I have already named all the animals in the kingdom, and I cannot think of a name for this new animal. And God said, no problem, because I have created this new animal to be a reflection of my love for you. His name will be a reflection of my own name, and you will call him Dog. You know D-O-G is G-O-D backwards, right? You're with me? All right. And Dog lived with Adam and was a companion to him and loved him. And Adam was comforted and God was pleased. And the dog was content and wagged his tail. After a while, it came to pass that Adam's guardian angel came to the Lord and said, Lord, 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 Adam has become filled with his pride. He struts and preens like a peacock, and he believes he's worthy of adoration. Dog has indeed taught him that he is loved, but perhaps too well. And the Lord said, no problem. I will create a companion for him who will be with him forever and who will see him as he is. This companion will remind, you're ahead of me here. This companion will remind him of his limitations, so he will know that he is not always worthy of adoration. And God created Cat to be a companion to Adam. And Cat would not obey Adam. And when Adam gazed into the cat's eyes, he was reminded that he was not the supreme being. And Adam learned humility, and God was pleased. And Adam was greatly improved. And Dog was happy. And Cat didn't give a hoot one way or the other. That's a good one. That's a long, it's worth it though, don't you think? It's a long one, but it's a good one. Dog and cat. All right. You know, those cats look at you like, excuse me, but I need food, I need eating. Let's affirm our church. We do have an offer working, and so the board will be considering that today. So we need all your prayers and all your faith for the divine order for our future of our ministry. So let's take this into our hearts today and affirm together. God's loving guidance works through all concerned to bring about the right outcome for our church property and to reveal the next perfect place for unity of Auburn. Let it be so. The affirmation I've been using lately is, let your promise be fulfilled in me. You know, so we just affirm the truth and hold the truth. You'll want to come to the annual meeting to get an update. All right, so this is week 7 of our prosperity series, Sculpt a Prosperous Life, Your Divine Plan for Abundance. I've given you all the tools, and now today I want to talk about a few mistakes that beginners make. If you're just starting to practice the principles of unity, or even this prosperity series of principles to practice them, there are some mistakes you can make that cause you to lose hope or interest or whatever, and so I want to talk about those today. Our series has been about reawakening to the clarity and the goodness and the power that we are and that we have, that we've been imbued from, I want to say on high, but the omnipresence of Spirit, to receive the seed thoughts of Spirit and to live out and express that goodness. Our lessons have been designed to assist us consciously in returning to the knowledge that we have the ability to allow our true divine nature to be received in us and to pour out through us. It's just a continual flow. But things get in the way that block that flow, and we've talked about that in our series. In our series, we've identified, I've got this on a slide, Jack. I've walked you through your divine plan for abundance. First, we asked you to look at your statue of limitations, those rigid, hard beliefs that you have crystallized and chiseled into what Charles Fillmore called crystallized consciousness, where you've chiseled them into rock-hard belief. That's just who I am. That's just the way I am. Maybe that's not serving you, like the Daily Word said today. Maybe it worked for you once, but it's not working any longer. So we said, take a look at your statues of limitation. And then we realized, we took into our hearts that all desire, the Latin root of the word desire is of the Father. All desire is of the Father. And so that seed idea that drops into you comes directly from Spirit. I always say it's like God saying, hello, this is what I have in mind for you, in divine mind for you. So open yourself to receive it. And in order to receive it, you've got to clear a space. Mostly, that's clear a space in your mind, in your consciousness, that this wonderful thing, this wonder and beauty could be possible for you. But we also said there's a ritual where you clear out your junk drawers and the inside of your purse and your car, where there's a physical ritual that helps quicken your consciousness to clearing out a space to be able to receive. And then we talked about writing down that desire, that seed thought that's dropped in, where you're moving the desire, the idea from this invisible realm of omnipresent good into visible physical reality. The first time that lead flows out of the pencil or the ink flows out of the pen onto the paper, it is the first place your dream often shows up in the physical world, in the written word. You're moving on invisible substance. You're moving the invisible into visible. And then we talked about adding the power of your spoken word, the vibration of the energy that's all around us, that your words shape your life and the circumstances of your life, and then to vividly picture it in your imagination so that you've got a feeling vibration and a spoken vibration. You've let go of all your limiting habits, and you're open and receptive to receiving, and you speak your desires into manifestation. That's what we've been working on. And I know you're actively testing it and practicing it at home. And as you're acquiring skills, you're able to create lasting and real prosperity for your life. It was Calvin Coolidge who said, nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent and are all-powerful. And the same is true for you and your prosperity. Often it takes just a little more persistence, a little more holding the thought, a little more writing it down, a little more affirming, a little more picturing, a little more praying to bring results into your life. So this morning I want to give you some turbocharged inspiration to keep going when things don't seem to be going the way you want them to. You know, I think about, we listed our property for sale last February, a year ago. And your board and I have been envisioning and picturing and speaking, and we've been affirming for a very long time for the right outcome for our ministry. And we're holding fast to that truth. And your board has done a phenomenal job sitting around the table, sometimes for hours, meeting on Zoom, discerning, praying, all the way for all of us to be a community together. So a few tips on mistakes that beginners make. Number one, don't quit just because you don't see results, right? Often the biggest mistakes that people make is quit when there's no instant results. Well, you said these principles work. They work for you all the time, Cherie, and why they're not working for me, and you just let go and you abandon them. What does it say here? Don't quit because you don't see results. You're making a U-turn with an ocean liner, not a speedboat. And that picture came up. I asked when I was creating the PowerPoints, I just said, give me design suggestions, and this is what they popped up. This boat making this U-turn in the ocean. And that's what you're doing when you're retraining your consciousness to think from abundance, your faith to believe in abundance, your faith to believe in the spiritual principles that we teach here week after week after week. You can't quit just because you don't see instant results. You're building a new consciousness, and you're oftentimes unlearning a lifetime of habits. I did a series on prosperity with all the ministers at the regional conference once, and one of the questions, or one of the processes we led ourselves through is, what did you learn about prosperity from your parents? What did what's ingrained in you that you grew up with as a child, I can remember one time driving in the car with my niece, Ashley. She was very little at the time, and I said, oh, honey, you'll grow up and you'll have fabulous life and beautiful, beautiful dresses to wear, and you'll look pretty, and you'll have a wonderful career and a job. And she says with this heart-sick voice, but Aunt Ree, how will I get money? And I knew she's listening to her mother constantly talk about, the British accent, where will we get the money for that? And at 6 years old, she couldn't have been more than 6 years old. She said, how will I get money? I said, oh, honey, God will provide for you, and you'll learn that instantly. Put your hand on your heart and say, I am prosperous. Not you, we can do that too right now. I am prosperous, right? Don't let any of those negative thoughts come into you. You're making a U-turn with an ocean liner, not a speedboat. Sometimes you need a set of training wheels as you learn something new. And in any practice, anything new that you're learning, you want to practice. We've seen that over and over on our television for the last 2 weeks with all the hours of practice that the Olympians have put into to achieve their medals. I watch the ice dancing. Do you watch the ice skating dancing? It's just, it's so beautiful. And I see them miss their jump and spin out like Bambi in the movie On the Ice, just spin out. And I think, how could you fall like that so many times? But they just get up and keep practicing. Our principles have the power to overcome any negativity and work quickly if you give them plenty of time to saturate your consciousness. Remember my favorite line lately? I want to have spirit medicine in my veins and a tattoo on my brain. So I want my consciousness saturated with the idea of abundance and prosperity and success and goodwill and joy and health for my body. And you have to give the principles time to saturate your consciousness, to take them on in your feeling, thinking, being, the nature of you. You can't just be a flip, I'm prosperous today, and you go out the door and the other 60,000 thoughts that you think today are not in alignment with prosperity. As you practice the principles, you'll get better at them, and they'll become second nature to you, to just speak affirmatively about your life, to speak affirmatively about the flow of your prosperity. And they'll become second nature, which is what I really call first nature, or your God nature. You'll be living in alignment with the flow of spirit, and it will just come naturally to you. And you'll know the principles are saturating your consciousness when you start to hear the people around you talking, and they'll say things like, oh, I'm so tired all the time. And you know, in your mind, you're saying, I don't want to affirm that for my life. I don't want to affirm that. That's not true for me any longer. The vitalizing, strengthening power of the Christ Spirit permeates every atom and cell and fiber of my being. And you hear somebody say, oh, I'm just getting older, I can't do the things I used to do. And you respond inside yourself with, I'm not going to believe that, or I'm not going to follow that train of thought. I mean, when I look around and this person will say, I look around and the body ages. It's just naturally that you get older and you can't see to drive at night or bend over and tie your shoes or whatever. Just say, stop with all that. And you'll know you're saturating your consciousness when you react that way, when you hear those untrue statements. They're not true in spirit. No negative thought of age can work in my mind or become manifest in my body. I am the ever-renewing, ever-unfolding expression of infinite life. And those are those quick-speak inventory affirmations that I always encourage you to take hold of, to create something for your life. When you hear somebody say, oh, I'm so broke all the time, you know, you can say, I have all the resources I need to live an abundant life. Just something that you don't have to say it to the person, but in your own mind, you cancel that negative thought that comes at you like an arrow, and you just deflect it, and you state the truth about who you are and what you believe. You'll hear people say, oh, I'm a day late and $1 short. I'm broke all the time. Besides, all the good jobs are taken. All the good men are taken. All the good women are taken. All men are pigs. You hear people talk like this, you know. And I had a shirt-tail relative that had a bad marital experience, and her mantra was, all men are pigs, all men are pigs. And I thought, Lordy. I am now free from fear, anxiety, and lack. I have faith in spirit within me, and I trust it to provide for me abundantly. So, number 2, and a few mistakes that beginners make is don't judge by appearances. Things don't always happen overnight. Again, you're building your faith. You're building your belief. You're expanding your consciousness to think in ways you've never thought before, and to realize that those thoughts are true and have power, right? When you're discouraged and unable to see results, remember you are turning toward an entirely new way of living and being. And you can tell when you are, because the people you used to be around, usually, unfortunately, your family, you know, they don't think that way. Haven't you outgrown the way your parents used to think about things? The thoughts your parents held about money. We always heard the story, oh, my grandparents came through the Depression, and so they saved every nickel and dime, and, you know, they had this constricting, crimping, cramping idea about flowing money. And a lot of people said they picked that up from that Depression-era thought from their parents. Maybe you picked it up from parents or grandparents, but you can't live that way. You're turning toward an entirely new way of being and living and declaring it for yourself. Esther Hicks says in her book, Ask and It's Given, she's got a lot of wonderful things in that book, but she reminds us, there is never a reason to be without something that you desire, because you hold absolute control of your experience. Think about that. And then the next half of that slide is, the only reason you could ever experience something other than what you desire is because you don't give the majority of your attention to something other than what you want. I have a little short video on my website that's called Do Want, Don't Want. You have to think about what you do want. Here's the key. While at the same time staying out of any thought about what you don't want. Do want, don't want. I do want this. Well, I do want a healthy body, but I don't want to worry about getting older, and I do want my leg to heal, but I don't want it to take a lot of time. Do want, don't want. You stay in alignment with what you do want to see for your life, and you stay out of any thought that you don't want. She reminds us, Esther Hicks reminds us, that within 17 seconds of focusing on something, a matching vibration becomes activated. 17 seconds. If you think about the health of your body is whole and perfect and vibrant in every way, and you hold that thought for 17 seconds, you're enriching the physiology of your body. And then, if you hold it for 78 seconds, activated for 68 seconds, it becomes a dominant thought, powerful enough to manifest results. So when you have your prayer time in the morning, you think, oh, I don't have time to sit down and do whatever. But Do you have time to walk around your house for 17 seconds and say, I am the radiant life of God, I am, I am, I am. I am the radiant life of God, I am, I am, I am. I'm the health of God, strength of God, vitality, energy, vim of God, I am the radiant life of God, I am, I am, I am. I don't know if that was 68 seconds, but close enough, right? It's not this laborious thing. And after a while, you can say it automatically, and then you know it's in you, and you're living it. You're living that vibration. 68 seconds for a thought to become dominant enough to vibrate so that it has the power to manifest. I think that's amazing. Maintain it for at least 68 seconds. It becomes a dominant thought. And once you activate a dominant thought, it will be powerful enough for manifestation. Now, here's a question I get asked once in a while. Well, what if I'm thinking really bad thoughts? Oh, this spot. It's really red. I got on Dr. Google and I took a picture and I saw that it has, and now there's kind of a bump there. It's not really a lump, but it's just kind of a thing. I can just feel it at 68 seconds. What about this one? Attached with emotion of fear and uncertainty and insecurity and do all thoughts create? 17 seconds, 68 seconds? Are you manifesting something? No. Your thoughts are not like a loaded gun that goes off instantaneously. You have to give your focused attention and your power to something repeatedly. Oops, we're lucky. We're lucky that it's true the basis of your life is the nature of God is within you, but even as your thoughts are magnetic to your attention, you have time to choose a different thought. You have time to say, stop this. I'll just get this checked out and satisfy myself that there's no harm or fear or doubt in this. And then let it be, Number 3 point to remember in a few mistakes beginners make is to press on, press on. Jesus gave this to us in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 9, verse 62. No man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of God. Press on. Jesus was talking about regrets and mistakes and looking back to what was and longing for the past. Just like do want, don't want, I'm affirming what I do want. Is the majority of your thought about what you lost or what you don't have or what you can't have or what you've never had or how you were never the favored child, you were never the most popular, you didn't get the love you wanted, is that where your thought is, looking back? Or are you focusing on what you do want and you want to press on? No man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of God. So the plow was used to cut up the dirt, for planting something new. And when you put your hand to the prosperity plow, as we've tried to do in this series, you've taken hold of the spiritual tools that will help you cut up those old beliefs of lack and limitation, right? We've got all the statute of limitations, desire, write it down, use your imagination, your picturing power. You have a whole host of new tools to plow through the way you used to think about the thoughts you used to hold about your own prosperity. You can't spend time looking back over your shoulder at your old ways. One of my favorite CEOs of Souls for Souls is his shoes for people everywhere all over the world. He was in Nashville. We worked together a lot. One of his favorite sayings was, Cherie, look through the front windshield, not the rear view mirror. Look at where you're going and where you want to go and where you want to be, not where you have been. You can't be living your life looking in the rear view mirror. So let's look through the front windshield. Again, Esther Hicks asks us to consider, she gives a very beautiful example in her book about trying to take a trip the 400 miles between Phoenix, Arizona, and San Diego. You all can imagine that in your, right? You can all capture Phoenix, Arizona. We're driving from Phoenix, Arizona to San Diego. And she says, no matter what mode of transportation you choose, by air, by car, by bus, even walking, if you face in the direction of San Diego and continue to move in that direction, you must reach what? San Diego. Right. But if you head towards San Diego and then lose your sense of direction, which I do because I argue with my GPS all the time, this can't be right. I know where I'm going. I know, If you're arguing with your GPS and you get turned off course, or you get mixed up, or you take an exit, or there's construction that reroutes you the wrong way, you're not going to end up in San Diego, right? If you head towards San Diego and you lose your sense of direction, you get turned around, then you go back and you're back in Phoenix, right? And if you get discouraged because it's taking so long to get to San Diego, you could potentially spend the rest of your life moving back and forth between Phoenix and San Diego and never get to San Diego, right? But you have directions. You have GPS now. You have Waves and apps on your phone that tell you how to get there. You have the help of other travelers. You have the old-fashioned maps. Remember, you have to fold out all those maps. What I wonder now is, I couldn't see that little tiny print on those maps. I'm so glad now we have GPS and stuff, because if I needed to go somewhere and I had to read a map, I used to print out the Google directions and print them in large font and put them in the seat next to me so I could follow those before I had an app on my phone. You know, some of you are with me on that. Well, Esther's example of a 400-mile trip between two cities is easily understood. If you desired to make the trip, you would find a way to make it. You'd find a way to get there, right? The thing that makes it seem more difficult to travel from financial troubles to financial abundance is that we haven't been aware of how we get turned around, or when we get turned around, and when we're headed in the opposite direction. And I think sometimes we're not even intentionally headed in the opposite direction. We're unconsciously headed in the wrong direction. We come here and we hear these spiritual principles, and we can practice them to help get our life turned around in the right direction. When you put your hand to the plow and look back and you wonder between where you are and where you should be, the only reason that your trip has not taken you from barely scraping by financially to having the freedom to do the things that you really want to do is you haven't been aware of the power of your thoughts that were taking you back to Phoenix. What's this one say? The only reason your life has not taken you from barely scraping by to financial freedom is you have not been aware of the power of your thoughts and your words. You're living unconsciously. I live unconscious a lot of part of the day. You know, I think, drive in my car and I think, how did I just get here? Do you ever do that? You pull in the parking lot at the shopping center, I think, how many lights did I go through? Did I stop at that last stop sign? Because I come back and I see these people on Ferrari Ranch where I live, there's a stop sign, and I never remember if I stop at it or not. I think, I must have, you know. I'm unconscious to, you know, a lot of the times I'm trying to bring myself more into being fully present to whatever's in front of me in my life, and we all need that practice. The only reason your trip has not taken you where you want to go is you haven't been aware of the power of your thoughts, and they're taking you back to Phoenix. So, you clearly understand, Esther says, all that's involved in taking yourself from Phoenix to San Diego, but you haven't understood the factors in transporting yourself from sickness to health, from the absence of a relationship to a great relationship. But once you learn to feel whether you're moving toward your goal or away from your goal, you'll never be lost in the desert again. You know, you can say, you hear your friends say, oh, I'm just getting older, I can't do what I used to do. And if your thought is, I know what you mean, or is your thought, the health and strength and vitality of spirits manifesting in my body in every way, you know you're turned in the right direction. But if it's, I know what you mean, just yesterday it took me 10 minutes to get out of bed and stand up, you'll know which direction you're heading in. The fourth thing in all mistakes beginners make is to adopt the phrase, you want to adopt the phrase, close enough. There's a really bad joke, I can't tell about that, close enough. But learn to strive for progress, not perfection. I could edit and write and pray and affirm and rewrite my Sunday sermons ad infinitum. But at some point I have to push print and say, I'm done. It's enough, you know? Because I could edit it over and over. If your prosperity is not showing up, check to see if you're immobilized by perfection. if you're stuck in the paralysis of analysis. You know, remember my friend Tama says, you have to be willing to be bad enough until you can get better. Do you think all those Olympians hit the ice skating and were perfect the first time? No, they had to be willing to be bad enough until they could get gold medal better, right? Today I want to invite you to remind yourself that prosperity is for you, for every one of us. We are children of God, and we are imbued with the spirit of richness and abundance and beauty and life. And we have to open ourselves to that and say yes to that and allow that and say, let your promise be fulfilled in me, God. Up until now, maybe everything you've tried hasn't worked and you feel frustrated. But now you're equipped. You've equipped yourself with some spiritual tools to transform your consciousness and your life. So I want to invite you to keep using them, and in time you'll begin to see amazing results. I'm still working on mine for my hole-in-one, but over this series, I've gotten more definite about it. I have now written it down. I've pictured it in my mind. I've imagined how good I'll feel when the people I golf with have never seen anyone get a hole-in-one. I thought, well, they're going to be so excited when they're with me and they see me get mine. You know, I'm just putting all this little joy and vibration around it, and I'm ready for my second one and my third one. That would be great. So let's close. I have a wonderful affirmation for us to close with as you have all these new spiritual tools. Let's affirm this together. New doors of good are now open to me. And with a confident spirit, I go forward to a life of happiness, security, and success. And I invite you to memorize that, to commit that to one of your quick speak inventory affirmations that you can just rattle off the top of your head. You know, my mom, I've told you over and over, would lift her hand up and say, every child born in this world comes with all it will ever need for its eternal ongoing. And I'd look up at that hand, you know, but I memorized that thing. New doors of good are now open to me with a confident spirit. I go forward to a life of happiness, security, and success. When you can speak those words like that and internalize them and make them a part of your life, you're destined to get to San Diego, right? All right, God bless you. Let's take it into prayer. Let's seal it with a prayer.